Welcome back to the Sky Files. Welcome back to the Sky Files. MUFON is a psyop. MUFON has no interest in solving anything, only endless investigations. Anyone ever notice that? They collect information and then you never hear another thing about it. You see, I used to be a MUFON field investigator and learned all of the inside baseball that goes on in the organization. Let me fill you in on some things they don't want you to know, and why they have never actually solved a positive case in favor of the existence of extraterrestrials. I think you will be shocked at what I have to say. Firstly, I want to tell you how I know so much about MUFON. Back in 2006, 20 years ago, I started being abducted on a frequent basis, and I was not handling it well. The feelings of helplessness stuck like a knife in my psyche. In an effort to feel more psychologically in control, I decided, since I am a researcher, to investigate my own abductions, the UFO landings, the sightings, everything I was experiencing. I deferred to MUFON, as it had 40 plus years of experience and information for me to train and draw from. Who knows? It might make me a better investigator from what I might learn. What I learned is that MUFON is simply the civilian information collecting arm for the military. Why do I say that? Many reasons. For one, as a MUFON field investigator, there are no standards. ICE has higher standards than what it takes to be a field investigator for MUFON. All you need is a pulse. They give you a manual, which has a blue cover. They literally hand you a blue book. That was the first tip-off that this was not what it purports to be. Secondly, you won't find a state head of a MUFON chapter that isn't either ex-military or ex-military intelligence. I found their information and investigative techniques to be insultingly biased, amateurish, and unscientific. An example of this bias would be their credibility score. They base it off of your job, your age. Military and law enforcement get the highest credibility scores when no other factors are considered. Why is it because someone is a school teacher they can't have eyesight as good as someone else? A hooker can see the same damn thing as the Pope. Why does it matter if I'm married or single, kids or no kids? It is upon the consistency and verifiability of the claim, which lends to its credulity and credibility, not who is making the claim. Science is no respecter of persons. It only respects facts, not the source of the facts. Another way you can tell that I am 100% on the level about MUFON is that they have never actually solved a single case. Have you ever stopped to think about that? Not a single time in thousands of investigations over multiple decades have they ever come out and said, this is likely or certainly a craft of non-human manufacture, operation, or origin. The best they ever do is inconclusive. A fucking shoulder shrug, following in lockstep with mainstream outdated science. These people have not solved a single case. Scooby-Doo can solve this mystery faster than they have. Zoink, Scoob! And to prove that they are a psyop, again, no bother. Years ago, they came out with a documentary series called UFOs Over Earth. The first episode was about Chris Bledsoe, called the Fayetteville Incident, in which they claimed to have investigated the case. They built him up the entire show. And then at the end, when he took a polygraph, he failed it miserably. Why would MUFON produce a documentary called UFOs Over Earth, and their very first show is a documentary about someone with no evidence as one of their star cases, and show him also failing a polygraph, destroying his and their credibility? This is powerful negative messaging for anyone else who might want to come forward. The table for ultimate skepticism is set against you. They let a skunk into the box, as they say. So now everything after that carries that same stink. MUFON acts as a civilian information collection station. Why? Because a volunteer civilian organization isn't accountable to anyone like the taxpayers. You see, MUFON started the year after Blue Book ended. From military investigators to civilian investigators, that's all they've done. They just wanted to collect the information. They just decided we'll make it supposedly volunteer and civilian, but put military or military intelligence at the top of each one of these state chapters, and then we will take in the information, decide what to disperse, decide if someone knows too much, if they're talking too loudly. We're going to keep our finger on them and make sure that we keep checking their temperature every so often just to see how they're doing for control. I've experienced this. Now, this is how, what they do is they take in all of the information. They're accountable to no one, and then they disperse disinformation. This is what they do. It's a PSYOP monitoring organization. I mean, if it were, like in any way seriously, investigation based organization, would you hire any investigator that hadn't proven a single case in 60 years? I mean, the best they've gotten in 60 years is, I don't know. Well, what I say is I recommend that you stop giving them information. MUFON gets weaker by the year as more and more people have caught on to their true motives. They take in the truth, distort it, and spit it back out. They are a dead organization. It's just a front. No matter how many cases I investigated and turned in, their rules would not allow me to make any type of actual declaration. They just wanted to collect the information and pass it on. They didn't care what I thought about anything. Just keep clearing cases. They gave me enormous amounts of previous case logs, which I read voraciously. They got lost along with some very valuable comic books due to water damage. But these people do not want true investigators because they do not train you. They hand you a manual. It's like handing you a cookbook, like handing you a manual. And then now you're an investigator. It's like handing someone a cookbook and then saying they're a chef. Shit doesn't work that way. You get no equipment. You get no serious warnings about contact or material handling protocols. There's no direct access lab to send anything to. It's all as cloak and dagger as any government op. And how is a person with no real evidence, who has failed a polygraph and humiliated MUFON, still hanging around, and recently also becoming a mainstream UFO talking head? Chris Bledsoe is out there still telling his stories. No evidence to speak of that I'm aware. I mean, I'm willing to be wrong on that if somebody knows about any evidence he actually has, like how I have and I feature in my book Beneath the Haunted Sky. But does he have videos, pictures? Does he have drawings? Does he have direct conscious memories? Does he have abduction marks that occur? Does he check all those boxes? I don't know. But he sure is being taken seriously when he doesn't seem to have given anyone a reason to, besides the fact that his name's just become, I don't know, somehow minor league zeitgeist. But it's a funny old world, isn't it? I mean, the more exposure, the more credibility. That's the way the standard goes now. It's a dumb standard, but that's the way it is. Be wary of anyone getting juice in this subject space. It's quite likely that they are a disinformation agent. The gatekeepers don't want people like me out here running wild, fucking up their narrative, telling the truth. running circles around them in their own fields of so-called expertise. No. So I have 1,000 people. They have millions. But I have 1,000 real ones. We are the Spartans fighting the Persians. The numbers may eventually win a war of attrition, but you will forever remember the Spartans. This has been another edition of The Sky Files. Consider yourself informed.